Okay, hi everyone. Good afternoon. I hope I am audible and visible to all of you. If not, let me know. And yeah, let me quickly thank you. Thank you, Surya, for confirming. Let me share my screen, show the PPT, and uh, then we'll start. Yeah, I hope my screen is visible. Okay, so hi everyone. I'll quickly introduce myself. I'm Soumyadeep. I am currently working as a software developer 3 at Google, and I'm also a mentor at CTO at CodeCardos. So, in my past experience, recent past experience, I was very fortunate enough to be able to crack multiple companies, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, to be the most notable names of those. So I thought I would share these information of whatever I have learned of how to prepare your resume, how to prepare lead code, what type of questions do they ask, whether they are behavioral, whether they are experience based, etc. So everything that I have seen and what I have experienced is something I'll try to share in the next 1.5 to 2 hours. Okay. And then you guys can ask any questions you have. So, so yeah, let's start with the very first thing, which is your application. Now, when you're let's I have created the PPT just for the sake of presenting something, but I'll mostly speak from experience. And so yeah, any queries, feel free to ask in the chat. Shubham sir will take up the questions or point me out, or feel free to even unmute yourself and speak in case if you want to. Okay. So the very first thing in your entire interview is the resume part. And this is where many people do make a mistake. So what your resume should look like. So let me show my resume. Yes. This was the resume that I applied for all the companies in the past 6 months. Oracle, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Visa, everywhere. And in all these places, my resume was selected. Now, your resume should be very, very simple. This is the first and foremost thing, that what all details should be there. Your name should be there, obviously, your mobile number, your email ID, your LinkedIn, your GitHub. Now, GitHub may or may not be, because usually if you have some experience, well, if you are a college student, then do put your GitHub. If you are a college student, GitHub is a must. Okay. If also, if not a college student, maybe if you have 1 or 2 years of experience, even then GitHub is very important. But once you have more experience, say 3, 4, 5, 6 years of experience, then personal GitHub usually does not contain that much value, because people don't expect you to keep working on side projects. If you do have some side projects, great, you can keep your personal GitHub. But usually whatever work you are doing, that stays in your company GitHub. So then that becomes a useless information. Though I have it in my resume, but just saying, I can also remove this. That is completely fine. So the very first things comes your resume. So whatever you have done should be put in your experience. And one very important thing, your entire resume should be in one page, especially if you have less than 3 years of experience. So if you have less than 3 years of experience, you should never make a bigger resume more than one page. That is not a good sign. And even the ATS softwares that are present in many companies, they will usually not take those resumes. If you have more than 3 years of experience, 4, 5, 6 and all, then you can have 2 pages of resume. Otherwise, one page is more than enough. Okay. So the very first section should be your experience. I've seen a lot of resumes where people write an about section. I do find that a little redundant. Not necessary. If you want to fill up your resume, if you're not able to fill up one full page, then you can write that, but not that necessary. So start with experience. Whatever experience you have, write it in descending order with the latest ones currently, and then slowly it goes ahead into the past. Then you can have your education. Again, if you have a lot of experience, you can remove your education. Otherwise, you can just have the college one. No need to write class 10th education, 12th education. That is just useless stuff. No one cares about it right now. Okay. I have right now 4 years of experience. After 1 or 2 years of experience, I'll probably remove my college as well. No one will care about it. Then your projects. Whatever projects you have done, maybe your side projects, in your side hustle while working full time, or during your college, etc. Then your achievements or certifications, etc. You can have a specific section for skill set, but or instead of having a separate section for skill set, what you can do is, with your experience itself, wherever you are working, You can write down the skill sets. You can write down the technologies you have used to work there. And so that is what I have done. Wherever I've worked, I've write down the technologies I've used to work them. So the experience section itself caters to both experience as well as skills. So that way you don't have to write another separate section just for skills. Okay, you can write that. You can write that if you want to fill your resume. If it's looking very short and you want to write a separate section for skills, you can do that. But if you are seeing that your resume is exceeding 1 page, then it is a better idea to completely skip that and merge it with experience itself. Okay. So first and foremost thing is to have a very simple resume. It's something like this. If you go in many portals like say Naukri, or there are many portals which who will give you a very decorated resume. The problem is that those decorated resumes don't work always with the ATS softwares. Every company, right now, no single person, actual person is looking in your resume and judging whether this resume needs to be picked or not. There are ATS softwares in every company. They scan your resume. They try to pick the details from your resume, where you have worked, where you have studied, what all experience do you have, how many years of experience do you have, what all technologies have you worked in, etc. Everything. And those ATS softwares pick all these data, and then based on the job description, they choose whether to go ahead with your resume or not. So if your resume has some images or some funky image, some sort of funky content, then those softwares may not be equipped to pick those data. They're only equipped to pick proper text from very simplified resume. So you can go to overleaf.com. This is the overleaf.com. You can go here and you can create a resume. You can find a lot of simplified resume templates. This is also a very common one. I forgot the name, but if you go through those templates, almost all of them are really good. You can choose any one of them. So that is how you need to make your resume. Now, while writing the content in your resume, make sure that you are writing proper verbs. These are very important. And usually they may not seem important because no one really teaches them, but they are. So apart from overleaf.com, this is one more website, which is resumeworded.com. This is a very useful website which helps you to grade your resumes. Suppose you have created a resume, you can upload it here and then it will score how much your resume gets a score out of 100. Do try to get at least above 80. Above 80, above 85 is really good. Above 90, excellent. But if it is below 80, then you may need to work on it a little. Okay. So these websites like Overleaf, Resume Worded, they are really helpful. Okay. Or right now you can even ask Claude or ChatGPT. Even they also grade resumes very well. So you can just randomly just drop your resume on ChatGPT or Claude and ask it to grade it. Even ChatGPT will give you really good pointers on how to improve your resume. So do make this a point, because Resume Worded, that website is something I find really helpful. And you don't have to take the paid version. No need to take that. Even the free version will give you enough pointers to take your score above 80. Okay. And that should be, that should be good enough in my opinion. And yeah, the last part is that whenever you're writing something, always write in an outcome basis. Okay. जो भी आप लिख रहे हो resume में, whatever. Okay. So always write in an outcome basis. For example, integrated 40 plus features comprising of so and so APIs from 4 different teams. Okay. So what you did, either you write it in a numeric basis that you have numbers to put, or you write it in an outcome basis that what you did, this was the outcome of it. In this way you have to write. Okay. Start with a verb, always start with a verb. Integrated, reduced, guided, received. Now I know these things may look very minute कि भाई इतना कौन ही देखता है. But trust me, unfortunately the ATS softwares work in this manner. Okay. Very tiny thing. You just need to put effort for half an hour and you'd be done. Okay. So start with a verb. Whatever you did, put it in numerical actions. And then if there was a very good favorable outcome, write that outcome. That is how you need to specify. Okay. So this was about the resume part. And that is all about the resume part. Now coming into the next part, which is DSA, the most important part. Fortunately or unfortunately, whether you are an SD1, you are an SD2, you are an SD3, you are a senior SD, until and unless you reach a managerial level, you have to prepare for DSA. Data structures and algorithm will be a part of your day-to-day preparation, should be a part of your day-to-day preparation. And even right now, even though I'm working in Google, I still make it a point to do at least one lead code question every single day. If not every single day, at least every alternate day, so that I am in that touch of doing DSA questions. Okay. Now, there is a very tiny misconception that usually college students, and I'm guessing a lot of you are also college students. Do raise your hand if you're a college student. Do raise your hand. Let me see how many college students are there out of 58 of you. Okay, one. Ankush, just one. I thought there would be many college students. Okay. Okay. Still quite less then, in my opinion. Just one or two of you. Okay. So now in college, you may have always seen this dilemma. कि यार मैं DSA करूं या मैं dev करूं? And people have the dilemma usually in the third year, fourth year. Should I try to get a job from DSA or should I try to get a job from DevOps, from development? Now, trust me when I say this, it depends on the type of company you're applying to. I can assure you, I can definitely assure you one thing, that the higher the package, the more focus there will be on DSA. There are a lot of companies, startups and all, or there are a lot of companies who will focus on just development. Because the sole difference comes that if there is a startup, yes, Deepak, even with AI, yes, absolutely, even with AI. Just give me 1 minute, guys. Yeah. So yes, absolutely. Can you please put in presentation? Oh, acha. Yes. I'll let me put that. But yeah, when I shift back to my presentation, I'll put that in. When I shift back to the PPT, I'll put that in presentation mode. Resume. Okay, sure. Uh, uh, let me just put it in Drive. Okay. I'll share that towards the end of the session in a Drive link. Okay. DSA for DevOps, platform engineers, or cloud engineers. For DevOps, there isn't much importance of DSA. But if you move towards cloud or towards full stack developers, the importance of DSA increases rapidly. Yes, Balakrishna. Yes, Deepak. Even with AI right now, the focus is very much on DSA. I can definitely assure you. Uh, just last to last month, when I was in Amazon, I was taking interviews, and we always had strict. There was no change in the pattern. Absolutely no change in the pattern, even though AI is there. And see, that is what is happening. And I can assure you that even with AI, there will be even more focus on DSA. I can definitely assure you that with AI, the more AI development comes, the more vibe coding gets popular. And vibe coding is getting popular very much. Even in big companies, people are doing vibe coding. The entire code is written by AI tools right now. We just monitor, we just have a proper look over the code as what code is written. So yes, even with AI, DSA will always be a very core part. And with increasing use of AI, the importance of DSA will increase. And I'll explain you why. See, the thing is that, as Balakrishna said, development, that mostly in college days, people usually think that development is very, very important. And it is important, absolutely important. But earlier it was way more important. With the onboarding of AI, development's importance has gone less. Because now, as a developer, you don't need to remember syntax. You don't need to write code, but you need to think. So when you look for a startup, see what happens is that they have this notion that, okay, if someone is able to solve DSA questions, now I am not saying whether this notion is correct or wrong. I am not at all saying that. But companies, industry have a general standard that, okay, if a person is able to do DSA, we can teach them any other work which is there in our company. So when we talk about a startup doesn't have the time or the funds to train their employees. So they expect people, they want to hire people who are already good in the tech stack that they're working in their company. But if you talk about big companies, there the tech stack keeps on evolving all the time. There they have the money, they have the time, they have the bandwidth to train their employees. And they usually spend the first 1 to 2 months in training their employees. Usually they don't give any work. They ask their employees to take 1 to 2 months in getting to know the product, giving them time to get trained on all the technologies that they're using. So that is the convention they have. It may be fortunate, it may be unfortunate, but that is the convention they have made, that, oh, if you know DSA, we will be able to teach you whatever extra stuff we need you to perform in the job. Now, with AI coming up more and more, we don't need to remember their syntax. We don't need to be good in any particular tech stack. Because now what they're expecting is you just need to know DSA, you need to know fundamentals, basic system design fundamentals of how everything works. And then with the help of AI, you should be able to write code very easily. Okay. And that is even true. In interviews right now, they have completely skipped asking questions for any tech stack. Absolutely no questions on any tech stack. And as a developer, you should never even be stick to a particular tech stack. If I talk about myself, when I was in my college, I knew Java, I knew Python. These were the two programming languages I knew. When I joined my very first company, which was Expedia Group, there I got to know that, hey, my company uses Spring Boot, but not in Java. They use it in Kotlin. So all of a sudden, I had to code in a completely different programming language, which I had never heard of before. I had heard about it, but I had never ever used it, or I had never looked at it. So that was a huge change. Then for the first 2 years, I worked in Kotlin and a little bit of Python, very little bit of Python. Then I was given a project which was completely in React and JavaScript. Again, I had no idea about React and JavaScript. So that was again a completely new thing. Then I came to Amazon from Expedia. And again, in Amazon, my project was completely in C++. I had learned very, very little C++ in C in my college days, in my first year. But after that, for the next 4 or 5 years, no touch with C++. So again, that was a different programming language. Then I came in Google right now, and I'm coding in Go language, which is again a different programming language. So literally in 4 years of my experience, I have coded, I have worked in Kotlin with Spring Boot, I have worked in React and JavaScript, I have worked in C++, and now I'm working in Go. So that is why, since technologies are evolving so rapidly, and with AI, this change is even getting more and more faster, people are not that married to a single tech stack anymore. They're not worried about whether you know a particular tech stack or not. Now they're just worried that, can you solve problems? They'll give you riddles, they'll give you DSA questions, they'll give you system design, HLD, LLD problems. And they'll try to judge whether you're able to solve them or not. And that is their opinion, that if you're able to solve those type of problems, then you can do any type of work they will be giving you. Okay. So that is what is happening. That yes, with earlier it was still a debate. Earlier it was, I completely agree. 5-6 years ago, it was still a debate between development and DSA. Right now, with AI, there is absolutely no debate. The shift will be more and more towards DSA. So yes. Now again, let me go back to the slides. Yeah. So just a second. Yeah. Yes. Now it is in presentation mode. Okay. So yes, DSA. You have to prepare DSA. Now, how do you prepare DSA? How do you prepare DSA? So, yeah. Now in DSA, how do you actually prepare it? Now see, DSA is this is a very common line I say always, that DSA is a marathon, not a sprint. Okay, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Whenever you want to prepare DSA, there are two things to it. There are two things. First is, when you see a question, you should be able to think how to solve it. Okay, the logic, the algorithm, that should strike you, that should hit you, that, oh, I can do this using this algorithm. There are so many algorithms in DSA. There are so many different types of problems, sliding window, so many different graph algorithms, greedy algorithm, recursion, dynamic programming, so many different concepts. So it should hit you which data structure to use, Are they using tech stack specific questions and mentioned in JD, and they specific questions also for big tech companies? Um, Tech stack, not much, not at all. I would say not at all. Probably some core concepts based on the programming language, yes. If they have very high uh, focus given on, say, Java, they may ask you some Java specific question, but that is very, very rare in my opinion, very rare. Okay. And again, there are no AI specific questions until and unless the role specifies that. If the role is very much heavy on agentic AI, LLMs, and all, then they may ask, and then they may require some experience based on that. But otherwise, in all the interviews I have given in Oracle, Amazon, Expedia, Google, Microsoft, in all these companies, they never ever asked me a single question on my tech stack. No one even cared what tech stack I'm using. क्वेश्चन तो छोड़ो, उन्होंने पूछा भी नहीं कि भाई किस टेक स्टैक में काम कर रहे हो. Any infra. I was asked a little about AWS when I was giving Amazon's interviews, but other companies didn't ask at all. AWS, GCP, nothing. They didn't care that as well. In Amazon, they did ask a little about AWS, but so again, I would say that is maybe somewhat dependent on the role, but in general, they won't. They may ask you cloud related concepts, but not something which is specific to, say, AWS, or some technicalities of AWS, or some syntactical stuff to AWS which is different from GCP. That they won't ask. They will ask you networking based concepts, cloud based concepts, etc., but not but they won't be too specific questions. Okay. So yes, as I was saying that in DSA, when you're solving a DSA question, there are two parts to it. The first part is when you see a question, it should hit you which algorithm to use, which data structure to use, whether to use a set, hash map, trees, graphs, linked list, stack, queue, etc. ये आपको strike करना चाहिए. The second part is being able to code that algorithm. Once you've thought of the data structure, the algorithm, the logic, you should be able to code that. Now, these two are separate parts, and everyone grows and develops these two parts in a separate pace. If I talk about myself, in my college days, I was a good coder. I was not that good in thinking algorithms. So if someone told me a very complex algorithm, I could easily code it. But I was not good at thinking those algorithms. So similarly, you may be good in the first part, not in the second part. If you're really good, then you may be good in both the things. But usually people take different timelines to improve both of them. And usually what I have seen in my teaching experience, because I have been teaching in, right now I'm teaching here at Code Cardos, but even before that, I've been teaching here at Code Cardos for the past around 1.5 years. But even before that, I have been teaching since my college third year in multiple edtech companies. So in what little experience I have seen that usually people find it more difficult to think the logic, but once they know the logic, they're able to code it at least. So don't worry if that happens to you. It is a marathon. It is a very, very slow process, very painful process. You have to do 200, 300, 400, 500 questions. And at the end, our brains are also nothing but LLMs. You have to train that. You have to do those questions multiple times. And it shouldn't happen that, oh, once I have done a question, I'll just forget it. No. You should keep doing those questions again and again. You should be doing the same question multiple times. And I'll show you how I practice LeetCode. I'll show you how I practice LeetCode. If I just go to LeetCode, when I wanted to prepare for Amazon, what I did was I'll just go to problems. I'll choose Amazon here, or say Google, anything. Okay. Pick the last 3 months, sort them in reducing, decreasing order of frequency. So now I have all the questions that were asked in Amazon in the last 3 months in reducing order of frequency. And then I started solving all of these questions. But just solving once is not important. Is not enough. Suppose I solved one question. I can just randomly open any one question. Okay, here I guess I didn't. I solved it quite ago, maybe. Or yeah, if I open this one. Just a second. I'm not getting any such question, but if it is a little difficult question, I would have for sure done that. Yes, yes. This is what I want to show. Yes. So if I'm doing a question and if I find the question a little difficult, that I am doubtful that maybe the next time I again visit this question, I may or may not remember it. I may or may not be able to think it. And that is absolutely fine. Obviously, we are not always in the same cerebral capacity. Maybe right now I did a question, I was able to do it. Maybe 6 months down the line, I again try to do it. Maybe at that time I don't have that much practice, or maybe I'm not that in a good of a mind, I'm not in a very good mind space. So I'm not able to do it. I'm not able to think of it for any reason. So that is why we should be practicing these questions multiple times, because it keeps on training our brain to think. Now, if in the interview they ask you the exact same question, great. But probably they may not ask the exact same question mostly. But if they ask any question, your brain should be trained enough कि oh अच्छा हाँ ऐसा question तो मैंने कर रखा था. Somewhat similar, yes. वहां भी मैंने कुछ इस तरह का logic लगाया था. So I can somewhat think in a similar lines. And that is exactly what you have to do. You train your brain enough by doing enough questions that your brain knows in which lines to think, along which lines to think. So as I was saying, whenever you solve a question, don't just solve it and then leave it. No. Write down. I have written in the comments the exact logic I used to solve this question. Not just here in the comments. I also have a separate notebook, a rough note, not a rough notebook, kind of a diary. And there I write every question that I solve, every DSA question that I solve. I write the question. I don't write this solution, the entire code. But I do write this, whatever I've written here in comments. I do write the logic. So that if I want, suppose right now I'm working at Google. Say 5 years down the line, I want to make a switch. I want to move to say Amazon again, or say Meta, or some other company. So what I'll do is I'll again prepare for DSA. And then when I'm seeing a question, it is not possible for us to again practice 200 questions. But if I'm seeing this question, I'll try to think of the logic. कि भाई कैसे solve किया था इसको 2 3 4 साल पहले. I'll try to think of the logic. If I'm able to think of the logic, great. I'll ask ChatGPT that, hey, this is the question, this is the logic I thought. Is this the correct logic? If ChatGPT says that yes, it is the correct logic, or I can confirm from reading here. If ChatGPT says it's a correct logic, or I see the exact same logic I have written here, then great, I'll move ahead. If it is not the exact same logic, then I'll try to talk a little with ChatGPT or Claude and try to see that, hey, if this is not the right logic, what do you think is the mistake? Okay. So moving forward, you should keep on practicing DSA from a thinking point, from a conversational point. Have a friend with whom you can discuss. If not, then discuss with ChatGPT. That is what I have been doing always. Because you may not always have the time to code again and again. Because if you are trying to code every problem, then in a day, maybe you can solve max 2 3 questions. And that too, maybe not daily. But if you're just thinking the logic and then having a conversation with ChatGPT, then you'll remember it very clearly. And also you can practice many more questions in the same day. So that is how you keep on practicing LeetCode. Always write the logic, the solution in comments or in a separate diary, so that you can always revisit how you solved it previously. Okay, so this is something which is very, very important. Yeah. Okay. So we talked about the resume, about what all sections we should have, experience, then education, then projects, skills, maybe separately, but I would suggest you to implement it inside experience only. Okay. And achievements and certifications at the very last. And a few very important points: have proper bullet points, start them with a verb, write proper numbers of what impact you made. Okay. And write it in an outcome based manner. Okay. Then we talked about LeetCode. Okay. So yeah. Then we talked about LeetCode, how we have to develop LeetCode as a skill, how we have to keep on practicing DSA, how you should solve those questions. And also one thing I would say is that what happens is that people often spend too much time in trying to solve a lead code question. यार अगर 15-20 मिनट में 10-15 मिनट में नहीं strike कर रहा है तो कोई नहीं. Ask ChatGPT how to solve it. ChatGPT will give you the logic. Try to code that logic. If you're able to code it, and say majority test cases pass, but few test cases are failing, try to figure out by yourself by dry running it. If you're not able to figure out by dry running, don't waste more time. Paste that code in ChatGPT and ask what is the issue. Maybe paste the test case also where it was failing. ChatGPT will explain you what the error was. Tell ChatGPT to just explain the error and not give you the correct code. So when ChatGPT gives you the explanation, you read through it and then you correct it by yourself. So take ChatGPT's help very, very much, very much. It is very helpful in practicing lead code. Okay. And so that is how slowly you will gain that skill. It will not happen in 1 month or 2 months. I can assure you. Having good control over DSA lead code will not happen in 1 or 2 months. It will take you 3, 4, 5, 6 months. If you're a complete beginner, then to reach the level where, say, the kind of questions Google asks, mostly lead code medium, a little bit of lead code hard, to reach there, you may need more than a year as well. So don't get frustrated if things are not getting in your favor in just a month or two. That is an absolute truth. It didn't come in my favor with just a month or two practice. It took a lot of practice and it still requires a lot of practice. Okay. So fortunately or unfortunately, since we are in this field, until and unless we are in the managerial role, this is something we have to practice upon. Okay. Now don't worry, I'll talk a lot about how the entire experience was for me, what type of questions they asked, and what other things we have to prepare apart from DSA, because that is also very, very important. So yeah, I hope there are no questions for DSA and lead code till now. How do we plan revision for topics we have already done? Exactly in this way, which I was saying, that you have done the questions, you would have done the questions in either in the Code Cadosis Playground portal, or maybe in LeetCode, or in some other website. So you would be having the links of those websites, isn't it? So whenever you're solving a question, also write the logic of those questions in comments. So when you want to revise, it is not very efficient to again do all those questions, isn't it? 50 question kar rakhe hai stack ke. If you want to revise stack, you cannot do all those 50 questions again, right? So what you have to do is go through those questions, read the question, try to figure out the logic, think of the logic. If you're able to think of a logic, see in those comments, is it the same? Is it the same logic with which you solved the first time? If yes, great. If not, then ask ChatGPT to rectify what is the mistake in your logic. And look at your logic and remember, oh, acha, aise solve kiya tha humne. Now, it shouldn't be the case कि भाई वापस से code ही ना करो. Obviously, you should code again and again. But yeah, in the first instance, suppose you're learning stacks or queues for the very first time. You did 30, 40, 50 questions. When you're revising, maybe you solved 5 questions, but you did go through 20, 30 questions. And in 20, 30 questions, you did go through the logic, but you didn't code all those 20, 30 questions. You just coded 5, 6 of those questions. That is how you need to revise. Okay. And obviously, in your say, and also you will be revising it multiple times, isn't it? So maybe for the first phase of revisions, for the first time you're revising, you did certain 5 questions. Maybe 6 months or 1 year down the line, you are revising it for the second time, maybe for another job switch or for maybe something else. Then you may solve some other 5 questions. So in that way, you have to revise. Sometimes it feels. Yeah, go ahead.
So since like we have covered so many topics, for example, we're doing binary trees.
Yes.
But we did like just like 2-3 weeks back.
Yes.
But if I go and do it again, it might be not a fresh start, but I will not be like 100% confident in that.
Yes, and that is fine. That is what happens to me as well. Obviously, that will always be there. Now, right now, it is not happening for me because I have done too many iterations of it. I am teaching you guys in the batch. I am solving it myself in LeetCode. I very recently gave interviews. So I've done too many iterations in the recent past. But if I talk about 3 years behind, when I just joined Expedia or when I was in my college, of course it used to happen to me as well. That is completely fine.
So how do we plan like which topic we need to revise and a revision, like if we have done like 50, 60 problems,
Hmm.
but again deciding on which we have to do a revision.
Hmm.
uh,
Again, for example, you have solved 50 questions in binary trees. Now, when you would be revising binary trees, maybe say a month down the line, then don't solve the 50, 60 questions again. But I would say read through those questions, read and think of the logic. And if you see a question which is a little difficult, ki agar, let's say for example, in today, I guess you are in my batch. If I'm wrong, then you correct me. But in today's batch, I was doing this question of constructing a binary tree from pre-order and in-order
yeah,
traversal, uh, post-order and in-order traversals. So you understood the logic, then we coded it out. So then maybe 1 month down the line, you think, हाँ यार ये question ना logic तो याद है but इसका थोड़ा coding थोड़ी टेढ़ी थी, थोड़ा मुश्किल था. वो limits how to find the pre-order, in-order or post-order traversals of left subtree, right subtree. That was a little confusing. So you think कि चलो यार जो 5-6 question मुझे revise करना है, let this be जो मुझे फिर से code करना है, let this be one of those. So that depends on you. Which all questions, while doing these 50, 60 questions, there will be a few questions which you would be finding it difficult. Maybe thinking the logic was easy or understanding the logic was easy, but coding it out was difficult. Code was quite lengthy. And that has been the case. In today's class, what all questions we did were way more lengthy than what we did in the past 3 classes. So while revising binary trees, you may want to solve these today's 2 questions again.
yeah.
Okay. So the next question is, sometimes it feels difficult to understand the requirement of the problem statement from. Yeah, true. That is absolutely true. And yeah, but I would say that this is true. And sometimes lead code is also quite faulty in this. Lead code also in many questions I've seen doesn't have proper wording. Isna, I would say that it is not your fault. I completely relate to you. Even I have also faced this. It's not easy to understand their wording. Sometimes their wordings are so weird that you would feel like कि भाई क्या ही कह रहा है ये. So in those scenarios, feel free to paste the code in ChatGPT and ask your doubts to ChatGPT. And that problem you won't have in an interview. In an interview, you can freely ask um, any question to your interviewer कि भाई question समझा दो अच्छे से, नहीं समझ आया फिर से समझा दो. And I can assure you, no one will be deducting points if you're taking time to understand the question. ठीक है? Because it also reflects on their part as well. An interviewer also needs to write a proper report of the interviewee. So if the interviewer writes that the person was not able to understand the question, so it may also reflect a little poorly on the interviewer side as well. So I would say feel free to ask, and then I'll talk about what all things to ask in an interview, what all how to answer them. That we'll get into. But this point, I would say it's not solely purely your fault. Leet code has very weird wording in many questions. So आराम से उसको chat GPT में copy paste करके ask your queries. Regarding system design preparation, should we practice in similar way like DSA, like design Netflix or Uber kind of? So, yes, absolutely. And I had a very funny incident in my Amazon's HLD round. I'll talk about that. And yeah, I'll get back to system design. But yes, absolutely, that is how you need to prepare. For increasing logic, can we do CP rather than lead code? You can do CP, but I would say it's like it is like saying, can I um, can I be better at walking by learning to run? It is like asking that. In you won't ever get CP based CP type of questions in MAANG companies. In very rare companies, you will get CP type of questions. Maybe rubric. Um, some maybe Atlassian, even Atlassian also doesn't touches those type of questions. I would say rubric earlier, that company for Trilogy Innovations, that sometimes
MediaNet
used
also
to
asks sometimes.
what yeah, MediaNet, yes, MediaNet, Trilogy Innovations, rubric, or the trading firms. So there are just a handful of 6 to 7 companies which will foray into that. Otherwise, it's not required. And I would say to develop logic, you can definitely do CP. It is very fun. It is very fun. In my college, we had courses for CP, CP1, CP2, and all. It was very fun, quite difficult as well, but it was very fun as well. So if you're liking it, then yeah, definitely do it. Definitely. But I doubt it will help much with lead code. Uh, it's a slightly different ball game in my opinion. And yeah, but if you're liking it, then definitely feel free to do it. I'm currently a DevOps platform engineer working for PVC now. But my goal is to get into FANG. I have solved around 100 lead code problems and no oops LLD. Nice. Yeah, oops is one. Oops is one thing. Someone was asking about tech stack. Technologies, tech stacks, whether they ask questions regarding tech stack. They will never ask questions regarding to tech stack. They won't even care which tech stack you have used. But oops is one very important concept. You should know oops properly, very properly, because entire LLD lies around oops. So oops is very important. Should I target FANG DevOps SRE roles directly or switch to SDE? How different are the interview process and compensation? And which path would you recommend for me? Interview process and compensation are different, a little different. Interview process would be a little easier, and uh, compensation will also have a difference. It depends how many years of experience do you have. How many years of experience do you have, Vikas?
Yeah, hi. I have around 4.5 years of experience. So first 2 years I worked as a full stack development as a Mustang, and
Okay.
for the past 2 years I'm working as a platform engineer for
Okay.
a fintech product based company.
Okay, fintech is a good thing. Fintech is a very good thing. I don't know why, but MAANG companies really like people from fintech experience. It gives them a good edge in applying to those companies. So it's a good thing. So since you have only 4 to 5 years of experience, I would say you can switch to SD roles if you want to. That window is completely open. That is not at all closed right now. If you want to apply in DevOps based roles, you can also do that. I would say there will be a little difference in compensation, and the number of roles might be a little less, but yes, that is also a possibility. No harm there as well. So, but yeah, I would say since you have 4 to 5 years of experience, the door to SD is completely open, and it should then depend on your interest as well. मतलब for example, अगर interest ही DevOps में है तो फिर तो क्यों ही switch करना? But if there is neutral interest, I would say अगर अगर interest है DevOps में तो DevOps में ही रहो. But if there is neutral interest, like sole motive is to get into FANG or get better compensation, then I would say uh, switch to SD. And you already have 2 years of SD experience. It's not that you have completely 4 years of DevOps experience. So things won't be difficult for you at all. The door is wide open for you. Uh, I have nearly 2 years of experience as a DevOps engineer, and I just want to fully focus on infra only, not on DSS. What kind of companies I should focus for better package where DSS is not required? Yes, even if you applied for good product-based companies, even there, if they ask DSA, it will be very limited, very limited, like basic linked list stuff, arrays, strings. Maybe they go till stacks, but yeah, they'll definitely not foray into the second half of DSA. So you can apply in any type of company. That won't be a problem. Um, in my last in Amazon also, we had a team of 7 people. One person was a DevOps person, so you can target any type of company. And I was asking about his interview experience, so he was talking about his interview experience. He was actually earlier a support engineer. uh, he was a support engineer in Amazon. He had uh, my teammate had about 6 years of experience in Amazon, and he had a beautiful journey. He joined as a support engineer in Amazon, and support engineers get paid very less. He was a support developer. From support developer, he became a systems developer. System developer is also kind of a DevOps role only. And then from system developer, now he is a fully DevOps engineer in Amazon. So yeah, you can, and I was asking about his interview experience, that even for those jumps they had to give interviews. All the entire complete interview process remains the same. So he was saying that he was also asked DSA questions, but it was only one round, and it was very easy level of DSA, lead code easy type questions. So that shouldn't be a problem. So yeah, I would say there is no for if you like infra, and that is exactly what you want to do, great. There is no limit. Even if you apply for product based companies, the level of DSA they will ask will be very easy. So
Hi.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I am having 10 years of experience.
Mhm.
Or like from starting onwards, I have worked for the IBM tools like AB middleware tools, Rapier developer, middleware architect.
Mhm.
So I just want to learn the things and I have joined.
Mhm.
So what role suitable to me to mm, change or could my previous experience will be the add-on and like how it will be for me.
So right now, as you're working in IBM, uh, are you working for their product, or are you working as a vendor to other companies?
No, I'm working like IBM tools,
Okay. Oh, okay.
middleware, like API developer. I'm completely middleware developer, a specialist in it.
Okay.
So how can my role will be like useful to the MAANG or how can I change like nurture myself to get into this good companies?
So right now, in your role, what kind of work are you doing?
It's complete API development.
Okay. And so you're doing, are you in a service-based company or in a product-based company?
No, now currently I'm service-based company.
Okay. So I would say one, one very um, good way which I have seen is that people try to get written. When I was in Expedia, we had two developers who were from Tech Mahindra, and
Okay.
they worked for around. They also had good experience like you. They were quite senior, and they had around 7 to 8 years of experience. And out of those 7 to 8 years of experience, 4 years they had devoted to Expedia. So after working 4 years for Expedia, they were able to build a lot of good relationships in the company with their manager and other managers, and they were able to transition from Tech Mahindra to Expedia. So that is
Okay.
a very good way, I think, is that once you make that jump to whichever company you are working for, and not just in the Expedia, I've seen that in many places. In my current company also, we have a person working from a, I forgot the name of that company. It is something starts with V. Um, but yeah, we have that person in my current team also working as a from a service based company as a vendor in our team. So I was talking to him, and he was also saying that since he has already been working for Google for 3 years, for the past 3 years, uh, he will also be he's also looking to make that switch, and talking to the managers and everyone and building that connection. So I feel I also depends on the kind of also on the kind of supportive environment you have, whether your companies have that no poaching rule or not. So it also
Yeah.
depends a lot on that, a little bit of luck factor and all. But that is one thing I've seen a lot of people to do. I don't know how feasible it will be for you, but that is definitely one path you can explore. But apart from that, um,
What skills I need to upgrade. So as part of training I have involved, so I just want to upgrade myself. So being a senior and I just want to learn more, like upcoming this AI generative like AI tools, right?
hmm,
So how can I upgrade myself so that it will be useful to me like for my extendable career? Yeah, actually.
okay. So again, to be very honest, I may not be able to uh, give a very proper answer to it without seeing your resume or
Okay.
getting to know a bit more about your current work. So I would just suggest that you may send your resume to Shubham sir, and then our
Okay.
team will reach out to you for that.
Sure, sure.
So
Thank you. Thanks. It will help me a lot, actually.
sure, definitely, yeah,
Thank you so much.
yeah. So yeah, just a second. I'll take one from the chat, and then I'll take one from the people who have raised their hands. Uh, which one? Which one? Where was I? Yeah, I have nearly 2 years of experience as a DevOps engineer, and I want to fully. Oh, I said ye to ho gaya. I have 7 years of experience in a senior backend developer in the service-based companies. From the last 7 years, only tech stack-based experiences. Now I want to switch to PVC. What will you suggest and how to proceed with DSN system design? I would say a lot of people are doing that, and from SBC to PVC, the only difference will be DSN system design. You have good years of experience. 7 years is very good for you to apply in any. Well, one thing I would suggest is that if at 7 years of experience, usually people take SD3 roles, but again, this is what I've seen a lot of uh, people do, is that they focus more on compensation and rather than a role. Now I completely agree that at 7 years of experience, if you go into anyone working in a PVC will be having SD3 title. Okay, but now if you are finding it difficult to get an SD3 role, but if you see that an SD2, higher end SD2 role with 4 or 5 years of experience is giving you a good growth in your compensation, then I would say take that also. And then after working for a year, you can easily get promoted. So what I would say just is that the only difference will be DSN system design. If you're already working as a software developer in an SBC, it shouldn't be a problem once you get really good at DSN system design. At 7 years of experience, DSA will also be a little less, and more focus will be on system design on your work. So if you're not that much interested in DSA, it's a good thing for you, because obviously the more experience becomes, the number of interviews devoted to DSA decreases. Okay. So, and the more focus shifts on system design. So since you have 7 years of experience, which is a really good number of years, maybe if you're applying somewhere, maybe hardly you'll have one DSA round and 3-4 system design based rounds. And if you're able to clear SD2 roles in a much easier manner, then I would say to take even that. If at least you should never compromise on the compensation, but if the compensation is increasing, I would say even accept that, because then once you enter into a PBC, getting that promotion in a year or two won't be difficult at all. So yeah, that is what I would suggest, that start DSA and focus more on system design. Since you have a greater number of, anyone with less than 4 years or less than 5 years of experience should focus more on DSA, but after that slowly you can reduce your focus a little on DSA and more on system design. If just to give an example, even in Google right now, when I gave my interviews in Google, they had 4 interviews, all 4 were DSA. One was Googliness, not DSA, and all rest 3 were DSA. Not even a single hint of system design anywhere. But once they hire for people who have more than 5 years of experience, then they introduce system design rounds. Similarly for Amazon as well. Right now we had 2 DSA rounds, 1 LLD, 1 HLD. If someone comes with more than 5 years of experience, they introduce 1 more system design round. Okay. So yeah, Shilpa, go ahead.
Hey, hi.
Hi, yeah. Hi.
So I just wanted to ask one thing. Currently, I'm serving notice period, and I have 6.5 years of experience, okay, in front end with React and JavaScript. So currently I'm serving notice period, and in past 2 months, I have cleared almost 7 to 8 companies interview.
Nice.
Okay. In some companies, thank you. In some companies, I have even shared my documents as well, like CapG and Infosys. I have shared my documents because I have cleared all the rounds, and even I cleared Morgan Stanley, Verchasa, and multiple entity data and all. But the one thing, I didn't receive any offer letter from them, because after taking documents or after clearing rounds or maybe after discussion with the HR, they came up like the position on hold, and maybe we are not getting client slots for the further round with clients, and maybe based on your experience, your pay is high, or some multiple reasons I'm getting. So I just wanted to understand what exactly going wrong from my inside, why I'm not getting any offer letter, even if my interview is going well and even I like cleared all the things.
Yeah, 1-2 cases might be a coincidence, but 6-7 then seems something is missing or something is wrong. Again, I would suggest to you then do reach out to Shubham sir once with your resume and your bunch of details about you, like your current compensation, resume, where have you worked, and then he should be able to help you out. We have a team, and I'll also have a look at it, and probably then, because right now it's a very less information for me to say anything. But it does sound very weird. Why after? Because once a company goes till all the rounds, they don't really like to hung up on candidates, because they have also put effort. It takes money for them also to spend on people to take those interviews and complete the entire process and everything. So then
Yeah,
sound
mostly they are saying that client slots are not available, or maybe they are saying that a position went on hold because they have taken few employees from from same company, different team. Yeah.
Hmm, sounds weird. Even Morgan Stanley did the same.
Yes, yes.
Okay, that is quite weird. I would definitely suggest you to reach out to Shubham sir once, and we'll see what we can think of or what we can do about it. Right now,
Okay,
I'm completely blank about it. Sorry.
that's totally fine. Even I was blank. That's why I came with question. Like that's why.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you so much.
Sure, sure. Okay. The next one is, I have 6 years of experience with the targeted roles. Position for me requires purely DSA, system design, or DSA plus anything advanced tech stacks to support my role. I would say 6 years of experience, DSA definitely. Since it is more than 5, DSA will be a little less. More on system design, very huge focus on LLD, very huge focus on HLD. There will be 2 rounds of HLD. And tech stack, not much. If it's a if it's a programming language specific role, like maybe too much focus on Java or something, or too much focus on cloud or something, then they may ask specific to that. But otherwise, in the PVC, they don't really care about tech stacks. No one asks. I'm telling you, in the past 6 months, I've given interviews in so many interviews in so many companies. Not even a single person asked what tech stack. I have written it in my resume. I definitely have written it in my resume. But still, usually they ask in interviews. Not even a single person in a single interview asked what was your tech stack, or tell me something about your tech stack. No one cares. They all knew that, okay, while coming to our company, you would be working in a different tech stack. So what will they achieve by asking me questions to that related to those tech stacks? So so yeah. So tech stack is, no one really cares about right now. And as I was saying earlier, with AI, focus on tech stack is absolutely gone. Absolutely gone. As a fresher, if I target for a good product-based company for that DSA, yes, absolutely. As a fresher, entire focus is on DSA. Now you have no work experience. Projects, a little, very little focus on projects, but projects are so much gamified right now. No, it's all DSA. For a fresher, it's all DSA. I'm target for front-end developer with React. What kind of advice would you like to give me? What should I do as a fresher? See, if you only like React, and if you only want to work in React, maybe a PBC will not be a good fit for you. Because if you just do this as a part of your homework, okay? Just as a part of your homework, go to all these companies, Microsoft, Oracle, Visa, Expedia, Flipkart, Blinkit, Zomato, uh, Urban Company, all these Indian startups, Rubrik, Roku, Razorpay, all these different companies. Go on their job websites and see what all openings they have for a developer. Are they asking only for front-end developer? Are they asking only for React developer, or just back-end developer, or just software developer, etc.? What you'll see is mostly more than 70%, they are looking for a software developer. Okay, at least more than 60%. Because there they barely have that distinction कि अच्छा नहीं ये तो सिर्फ front end पे काम करे या ये तो सिर्फ back end पे. That distinction is not there much. Okay. So if you want to, you will very rarely find, maybe, for example, if you want to look in Google, very rarely, maybe 1 or 2 roles you'll find which are just focusing on React. But then when they're just focusing on React, then they'll not take someone who is a college fresher. For freshers in PBCs, tech stack specific roles are almost zero in my opinion. If they're looking for specific React developers, then they look here, bhai, at least 5-7 साल का experience हो उसके पास. He is like a professional, proper React developer, वैसा. As a fresher, they are not looking for tech stack specific roles, not at all. So, yeah. Yeah. Then as a fresher, then you cannot choose, okay, I will only work in React. Then you have to work. As a fresher, you have to master your DSA. And then wherever you get a job, you have to work in whichever technologies they give you. You don't have any say in that. Okay. Yeah, Pradesh, go ahead.
Hey, hi, Soumyadeep.
Yeah, hi.
Sorry, I think Pritesh wants to speak.
Oh, yeah, Pritesh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. So I have the same experience as yours. Like my pass out year is also 2022.
Oh, nice.
Like I was from tier 3 college, and so I got selected in service-based company that is in Jaipur. So we mostly work for the client. So my first client was USA financial firm.
Okay.
So there I was a MuleSoft developer. Basically, we create a MuleSoft API, middleware API for performing ETL jobs for the CRM solutions.
Okay.
And that client, like that project was completed after 1 year. Not completed, like it was gone from our company, basically. Then there was no position for me like there. So they put me into like some POC work and research and all, like and at that time AI was also there, right? After like in 2023 to early 2024.
Yeah.
So AI was on boom, so they put me into R&D team and like POC, doing some like hit and trial and get the solution done.
Okay.
So 2 years I was doing similar kind of thing there. Then like last year in March, I got they got one position for me, like similar as a MuleSoft developer. MuleSoft is a basically no-code tool where you can drag and drop things and create APIs.
Okay.
So there, so now that's USA business, or like I don't know like what category they fall in. The similar way, like in India we have Pine Labs, right?
Yeah.
So in USA they have Square Up, Block. Yeah. So
for taking
we are
payments. For taking payments and all.
Yeah, for business and
Yeah.
and all, like Afterpay and something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So we are there, like I'm again a MuleSoft developer there, no code developer, and then they asked me to develop more skills. So we learned some of the things. So right now we are as an integration developer where we working with Salesforce, AWS, Lambda, SK, Salesforce Kubernetes, shared Kubernetes infrastructure and all. So when I consulted with Subham and Amol, so they pointed out me to move forward with AI and FD role, Gen AI. So like my interest is also in there. Like in my college, I was good with ML and AI part.
Okay.
So yeah. So my question is like I'm also looking for switch into FD.
Okay.
So what should I be doing? Like I'm
I guess-
taking classes for FD. Like I'm taking like course for FD, but apart from that, what should I be doing?
So since you have just joined that FD program, I'm guessing. So I guess you don't need to worry about it right now. Slowly things will happen, and then as you go along the course, things will you will be guided on what exactly to be doing for that. So I don't think so. You need to worry about it. And who were you in contact with? Shubham and
Amol.
Okay, yeah. So you don't have to worry about that. I guess I guess it's just been 2 weeks, I guess, no? Yeah. So you don't have to worry about it. You'll slowly get more and more information, and yeah, you'll get that information as and when time comes. So you don't need to worry about it. Yeah.
Also, like for getting into a product-based company.
Yeah.
So I also required to do DS and system design, right?
In FD roles, again, the focus will be a lot less because an FD role is kind of a mixture between uh, a software developer and a program manager, product manager. So in FD roles, the focus on DSA will again be very less, like that of a DevOps role, but they may ask DSA, but it will be much easier level of DSA. So so yeah, you
Also, so at college, like when I was in college, so I was good in like I was not bad good, but like yeah, I was an you can say average or more than above average. Like I was good with CP. Like I was able to get at least 4 star on Coursera,
yeah,
and
that
also
yeah, then
I
you
like
should be good enough for the DS level of DSA they ask in FD. That won't be a problem then. Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, so then developers can, with technology evolving, this seems to be an interesting question, kind of a generic question. I would suggest that if you have more generic questions, do ask that. If you have more specific questions, then redirect them to Shubham sir, because then for specific questions, I may need to ask some more personal questions. You may not be able to share those personal questions on a call, answers on a call. So I would say if you have very case specific question regarding your career or your journey, I would say do reach out to Shubham sir, and then we have a team. I am also there, and we'll take a look into it. Okay, so this looks like a good generic question. With technology evolving so rapidly, especially with generative AI, why are companies still following traditional hiring methods? Today, it's gonna. I'll tell you why. Usually, because people have a very misconception that the traditional method is faulty, or it's not useful right now. You see, people have that notion that DSA is not required in development, and I always say this, that if you have not used DSA in development, then you have not worked in a big complex project. For example, someone was talking about React. Again, this is one line I say always, that to use React, you don't need DSA. You don't need DSA at all. Zero knowledge of DSA. Using React is very simple. But ask that to meta developers who are building React. I have a very close friend of mine with whom I studied in class 11th and 12th, and she's in Meta London right now. And she works. She earlier she was in that team. Now she's in a different team. But earlier she was in that team of React. So trust me, when you ask someone a developer who has built React, they'll tell you how in-depth knowledge of DSA and how in-depth knowledge of algorithm has been required to build something like React. So that is why they still use those traditional hiring methods, because those requirements have not changed. Even right now, when we are using generative AI to code, we will be judging the code that generative AI generates. But if I have to design an algorithm, if I have to create something completely new, which is not there out in the world, then I have to use my brains, use my knowledge, collaborate with generative AI, and come up with solutions. So traditional hiring methods, I feel, uh, yeah, we may have certain additions. For example, Amazon very recently in their interview, in their online assessment, said that okay, you can use ChatGPT, you can use AI tools. They had integrated it inside their own tool, inside their own platform, but they gave the access to that, and they gave some debugging based problems. So the hiring methods, the challenges, the questions may evolve a little, but it will more or less be centered around the same old things. Some new challenges for debugging and all, because right now debugging has become a very, very important skill. You generate code very easily through generative AI, but you have to go through it, you have to review it, you have to debug it. So new challenges can be can be used as some additions, but the main base will always be there. Today, developers can use AI tools like Copilot and ChatGPT to write code faster, generate tests, debug issues, understand new technologies, and even assist with architecture. Yes, I understand human expertise is critical and reviewing. If AI can significantly improve productivity, why do companies still expect candidates to know and manually demonstrate so many technologies? Exactly, Siddharth. They're not expecting me to demonstrate technologies right now. Like legit interviews are becoming more and more, in at least in big companies, interviews are becoming more and more uh, how do you say? They're literally asking riddles. They're literally asking riddles or lead code questions, which are also kind of. And then if you give a Google interview, they will ask you not. They will not never ask you a traditional tech stack based or technology based question. They'll give a problem. Oh, there are so on. My Google's interview was such a beautiful question that there are so and so routers, so many routers in first floor. There are routers in second floor. The distance, the coordinates of the routers are given. It's a 2D space. Every router has a range. They can propagate their. It's such a beautifully crafted problem. So I completely agree. They're not asking technologies anymore. They're not asking me to code and show me something. कि भाई अच्छा API कॉल करके दिखाओ या इसका syntax क्या होगा. No one is asking that anymore. I told you, I completely agree with this. No one cared what my tech stack has been till now. Instead of focusing on mainly on how many technologies do you know, no one is focusing on that. You're absolutely correct. No one is focusing on that. Shouldn't companies also evaluate how effectively can you solve problems using the technologies? Yes, exactly. That is what the companies are focusing right now. The future will be personalize the. Yes, I absolutely, completely agree.
Actually, I've asked the question.
Achha. Oh, okay.
So,
Okay, my bad. Okay.
So, like, I've been working on different tech stacks. So, from my point of view, I've started as a catalog. I mean, I've started as a business analyst.
And it's a good thing. It's a good thing that you're working in different tech stacks, because earlier, 10 years ago, companies used to find specialists. कि भाई हमें ऐसा पता चाहिए कि React में काम किया है. Right now, due to companies want generalists. So that complete shift has happened from wanting specialists.
They should be able to work on different tech stacks, basically. So whatever problems that they can, like, they come up with, they will be giving it to someone else, and you should be able to solve it, right?
Exactly. So it's a very good thing if you have different tech stacks in your work ex.
So as I mentioned, I've started as a business analyst, and around 8 months of experience, I think that, I mean, it's not the field that I wanted to be. So I moved to a different scenario, but I couldn't find a job. So I've started as a catalog associate in a company that has around 22 years of experience in supply chain management, logistics. So I've started this company as a catalog associate. And when I started, I didn't know what was catalog. I mean, I've thought of myself, what itself is catalog? I'm not sure. Then they explained me that it's like a simple data entry job where we can enter the specifications of the job and specifications of the products that we sell. And inside the firm, I've internally moved to a IT job. Like, I've started in the transformation team. So like a transaction team, basically. So when I started joining the team, I think like it's completely different scenario that we was thinking of. So I was able to work on different scenarios. So I've started SharePoint and SharePoint applications like accounts payable, account receivable, purchase order modules, expense modules, ERP modules. So that was completely crazy. And after around 2.5 years, I moved to a complete different stack. So they were migrating this to a different tech stack, like React. Like, as I mentioned, I've started with MVC, HTML, like JavaScript, Kendo. So the basic things. So after 2.5 years, I've completely migrated my career, and currently I'm working in a different scenario. So currently I'm working in microservices, React. So like, I don't know how the hell I've turned in there, but
that is really nice. And that is what it should be right now. That is what it should be. So yeah, congratulations on that. Yeah.
Thanks.
Which roles did you apply for at these companies? They were all SD2, SD3 based roles.
Currently, I'm working on an AIFD role. So, like, as I mentioned, I've started few companies basically. So I've run few IT companies. I've run few procurement companies. So I want to learn this all at once. I mean, it's too much to but I still want to go for it. That's why. It's completely dependent on the skills, man. So if you have the skills, you can get it. Whatever you want, you will get it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, that was a really good thing to hear. And yeah, next question is, which roles did you apply for at these companies? SD2, SD3 based roles. Often the titles of these companies are unfamiliar, yes, or unclear. I would say because they're generic. Usually these companies have hiring drives, and they open very generic roles. And once they hire you, see, what happens is that all these companies, they kind of take you in a pipeline, And once you're there in the pipeline, they'll try to fit you in a role which will suit you the best. So don't worry too much about the job exact, whatever description is written. Okay. For example, in Google, I'll talk about this process. Okay, let's do one thing. I'll take the questions again, but let me again cover some of the part that I want to cover. Okay. Yeah. Let me again cover some of the part that I wanted to cover. Okay. So I was done for LeetCode, and then, yeah. So now, whenever you are in a interview, it is very, very important for you to properly clarify. Okay, so let's share how many rounds and what my experience has been. So when I applied for Microsoft, the first was an online assessment round. In the online assessment round, OA round, they gave me 2 questions to solve in 90 minutes. And that was the same pattern in everywhere. Google, Amazon, everywhere, it was the exact same pattern. 2 questions, 90 minutes. And then in Amazon, the first round was in Amazon, and surprisingly, not in Amazon, in Microsoft. In Microsoft, all 4 rounds were completely online, completely virtual. And actually, yes, in all these 3 companies, the pattern was very similar. First OA, then 4 rounds. In Microsoft, all 4 rounds were completely virtual. And all of them happened in the very same day. So it was very, very hectic as well. Like it started from morning 10 a.m., 10 to 11. Then again after 2 hours, 1 to 2. Then again 1 hour, 3 to 4. Then the last one happened from 6 to 7. So it was very hectic. And same happened from Amazon as well. In Amazon, it was way more hectic, and I'll explain how. So in Microsoft, the first round was a DSA round, complete DSA round. After OA, the OA was a DSA round. The second round, which is, I'll say 4 rounds. The first round is the first interview round. That was a DSA based round. I would say Microsoft kind of asked the most simplest questions. I'm not allowed to exactly say out the questions, but I'll say which topics it covered. So in Microsoft, the first question they asked was around linked lists. And it was a very simple question. The second question they asked was a bit around bit manipulation. I am very, very weak in bit manipulation, but it was a very simple question. Excuse me. It was just regarding dividing by 2, multiplying by 2, left shift, right shift. That's it. Very simple question. And another third question they asked was again a simple riddle type of a question, which included only arrays. So it was also a very simple question. So the first interview round was DSA round, 3 questions, 1 hour. And I would say very simple, very, very easy based questions. I would say the level was LeetCode easy to medium. And even the medium questions were kind of questions which had really good acceptance ratio, like 70-80% acceptance ratio. So the questions were quite easy. Second interview round was LLD round. There they asked me to design a system. And it was all surrounded around how to write the APIs, they were giving me specific tasks, and they were asking me, how would you design your database? What changes would you make? So you need to have very good concepts of normalization, indexing, all these major concepts in database. So based on that, you need to tell them, okay, this is how I will structure the data. The entire LLD round was focused based on how I would design that database, the schema. They were asking me for a SQL-based database. So the entire LLD round was around how I will keep on changing the structure, or how I will keep on creating new and new schemas based on the requirement, so that the database calls are very efficient. How I would index, which primary keys, secondary keys I would keep, etc. Okay. So this is what the entire LLD round was. The third interview round was an HLD round. There they asked me to create a proper big system. So it was like a full-fledged HLD round. I had to create all the components, how they would interact with each other, what are the all the actors are there, what are the different types of how do I say it, like people who will be the customers, people, how are they interacting with the system, everything. It was a complete HLD round. Then the fourth round was a hiring manager round, and the HM round was also kind of an HLD round, but it was not designing a complete system. because it was kind of a mix between my behavioral questions and a little bit of an HLD questions. In the HM round, final fourth round, they were asking HLD based questions on smaller concepts. Like for example, if you have such a system and this is a bottleneck, there are too many traffic here, how would you maybe asynchronize the system, or what will you do to release the pressure on the system, something like that. So it was very scenario based question. Okay, so there were 4 rounds. First was the DSA, very easy DSA. Second was LLD, all about how I would design that database based on the requirements given, based on the APIs given. APIs also I had to design based on the requirements. I had to design the APIs and what all things to send to the API, what type of API, in which way the API will return me the data, etc. All that stuff. The third round was the HLD, designing a complete system. The fourth round was a hiring manager round, which was 50% behavioral questions and 50% HLD, scenario-based HLD. Okay. Then let me talk about my Amazon's experience. In Amazon also, exact same process. First was OA round, then there came 4 interviews. All 4 were physical. In Microsoft, all 4 were virtual. Here in Amazon, all 4 were physical. And it was so daunting. It felt like I had gone for reality show audition. Like around 30 of us were, it was a hiring drive. Around 30 of us were called in the morning at 10 a.m. We sat there. We kept on giving the interviews. Excuse me. So we kept on giving the interviews one by one. Every one of us gave the first round. We saw 5 to 6 people get eliminated. Then the second round. Again, we saw 10, 15 people get eliminated. Then the third round. And then after the third round, it got so late, it was almost 7 p.m. So they told me that the next round would be next Saturday. So just give me 1 minute, guys. Yeah. Hi. So as I was saying that, yeah, so that is how it happened. It was very daunting. And so 3 rounds on the first day and the 4th round on the next week. But they had actually planned to take all the 4 rounds together in the same day, but they just couldn't because of time constraints. So their first round was a DSA round. Now, what Amazon does is Amazon asks a lot of behavioral and experience-based questions. What the difference is that behavioral question is like, for example, say, what will you do or how will you resolve a disagreement between you and your manager? Or maybe tell me a time where you had to lead a team. It may be just 2 to 3 people. Or maybe tell me a time when you mentored a new junior who joined the company. Or maybe how would you suppose you're working with your peer, and he or she is of the same level as you, and you both are working on a project, and you both have contradicting ideas. How would you resolve it? Something like this. These are the typical examples of experience-based behavioral questions. Then Amazon and Google also asks a lot of experience-based questions. Experience-based question examples are like, for example, tell me a time when you faced a really challenging, complex project in your work. And then there are levels to this. First, they'll ask this, that tell me a time when when your manager gave a really challenging task to you. What was that task? How was it challenging? What was the challenging part in that task? What was the technical difficulty in that task? How did you go about resolving it? Were you able to, if you were able to resolve it, how did you resolve it? If not, then what other alternatives did you take? So this is how it revolves. And these are very, very important. Very important. Amazon and Google both have a separate round solely focused on this. In Amazon, the first round, Amazon actually puts too much focus on this. In the first round, it was a 1 hour round. 45 minutes was on DSA. And the first 15 minutes was on this behavioral and experience-based question. One behavioral question, one experience-based question, then one DSA question, and then another DSA question. And I would say DSA questions were LeetCode medium level. But both the questions were exactly taken from LeetCode. Not even a single word changed. Not even a single word changed. So that was quite surprising for me. And that usually happens. You'll see Amazon, Microsoft, Oracle. They half the times they give you exactly same question from LeetCode. Google will not do something like that. Google will always create very good crafty questions, but Microsoft and all, you'll often see Amazon and all, you'll many times you'll find them giving you the exact same question from LeetCode. So the first question was a dynamic programming based question. It was a tough one. Like it was you can say a LeetCode medium question, which had a low acceptance ratio of 40%. But again, it was taken straight away from LeetCode. The second question was also exactly from LeetCode, and it was a graph-based question. So done. This was the first round. Second round is something called as bar raiser, BR, where 45 minutes they will ask you only experience-based and behavioral questions for 45 minutes. They'll drill down very properly, very properly. You have to have questions formed in your head of all the experience you have had till now, because you need material to say for 45 minutes. Now, what would you say? What would you say that what have you done when someone asks you about your work stories? And those work stories should not revolve around work politics. They should revolve around the technical stuff. Okay. So the second round is something called as bar raiser, BR. 45 minutes, completely leadership and experience-based questions. And just 15-20 minutes, one easy DSA question. वो बस नाम का DSA पूछ लेते हैं 15-20 मिनट में. But the entire round is just focused on those type of questions. And Amazon calls them LP questions, leadership principle questions. This was the second round. Then the third round. Again, 1 hour interview. First 15 minutes, behavioral and experience-based questions. One for behavioral, one for experience-based. And then the next 45 minutes on LLD. Again, the LLD was somewhat around that only. You have to, this was a typical LLD. The Microsoft one LLD was just focused on databases. I don't know why, just on databases. This LLD was focused on a broader level. Like I had to draw all the classes, typical LLD, draw all the classes, tell how are they communicating, how is data being passed, etc. Okay. So that stuff. So yeah. And that was the third round. And then after that, the fourth round again was HLD. Again, first 15 minutes was completely same. One leadership question, one behavioral question, one experience-based question. And in 45 minutes, entire HLD. And that I got very lucky in HLD because, just give an example, I applied for a department. For example, just give an example. Suppose, assume I applied for Amazon Kindle, and I thought, यार Kindle का है interview, Kindle का HLD पढ़ के जाता है, and they asked me the same thing, exact same thing. So I was very lucky there that exactly the same system which I had studied based on the job role, the exact same system. Okay. So that is how it happened. Now then, the Google's interviews were quite different. There was in Google, I didn't even get the OA link. I got no OA link. My resume directly got shortlisted. They didn't send me any OA link. I don't know why. But they directly took my interviews. And in Google, it was first 2 rounds were virtual on the same day. And if I had qualified those first 2 rounds, then I was taken to the next 2 rounds. And the last 2 rounds was in their office. So in the first 2 rounds, first round was DSA. That was again normal questions, not very tough questions. LeetCode, easy to medium level questions. One question was around converting decimal numbers into hexadecimal system, kind of a question. And the second round was Googliness round. Entire 45 minutes of round was completely based on experience-based questions and behavioral questions. Then once I cleared these 2 rounds, the next 2 rounds that happened in their office were both 45 minute rounds, and they were of complete DSA, full DSA. And there they had asked really good questions. And there Google usually asks questions from the end portion of the DSA. Union find algorithm, tries, tough, those graph algorithms, Bellman-Ford algorithm, Prim's algorithm, all those algorithms and all. So, and and those questions are always very story-wise. That, okay, they'll describe a scenario, you have to get out of the scenario, or you have to do something in that scenario. And then they usually ask one question in the entire 45 minutes to 60-minute interview. And then once you answer the preliminary level question, then they keep on adding difficulty in those questions, in that same question. That suppose, tell me what if they'll add conditions on that very same question to increase the difficulty level. So that is how those rounds go. But I would say in all these 3 companies, these product-based companies usually focus. Microsoft didn't. I was quite surprised. Microsoft focused a lot on HLD, LLD, but Microsoft didn't. In my hiring manager round, they focused a lot on transactions and message queues, brokers, and all. But DSA was very easy for Microsoft. But yeah, Google and Amazon, I would say they completely asked questions on dynamic programming, graph, union find algorithm, tries, these 4 topics. All the end portion of the DSA. That's it. So yes, that is how these rounds usually went. And one thing I would say is that in your rounds, whenever someone is asking you a question in your LeetCode, and this is what that slide was about, I guess. Yeah, this is what the slide is about. When you are asked a question, the first thing is to clarify everything. Don't assume anything. Okay, don't assume anything. And even the slightest assumption you're making, clarify. Okay, clarify. Now, it is very important for you to keep on speaking. At then, it's an interview. You are there to showcase how you're able to think. You're there to sell yourself in a way. So your interviewer should never feel bored in the interview. If they're getting bored, it's a bad job. So once you hear the question, once you clarify all your queries, you should not stop and think, या ऊपर देख के सोच रहे कि भाई क्या होगा यार, क्या कैसे कर सकता हूं मैं, जो भी आ रहा है दिमाग में. Keep on speaking, and this is something people don't have a practice on. क्योंकि अब घर पे आप कर रहे हो तो you're not speaking it out loud, but that is what you should do. It is a very important thing that when you're doing LeetCode questions, DSA questions, read the question, then as soon as you start thinking, speak out loud. Whatever you're thinking. And okay, maybe I have to store the data in some way so that I can fetch the smallest quickly. Or maybe the question is, after reading the question, I'm thinking that I have to pick the smallest element multiple times. So since I have to do that, maybe I'll use a min heap or a min heap kind of a data structure. So whatever thoughts there are going in your mind, you need to keep on saying it out loud. And the interviewer will guide you. If you think of a logic and the interviewer is seeing that you are going in a different track than what's expected, then the interviewer will guide you. You're getting a little sidetracked. Think along these lines. The interviewer will give you a hint or two. Okay, that's completely fine. Even in my Google's interviews, in the third round, the first baseline question I was able to solve. First hurdle, that is also I was able to solve. Second hurdle, I took a hint. I took 2 hints in the second hurdle. That is completely fine. Okay. But at least take hints. Way better than not being able to solve the question. And so, suppose you're saying something out, the interviewer will correct you that you are wrong. Think along these lines. And it also helps you to showcase your interview that you are able to think along these lines. वरना आप चुपचाप बैठे उसके बाद आप कुछ कोड कर नहीं पा रहे हो, because see what happens is that it's not a binary कि भाई ये क्वेश्चन सही हुआ या गलत हुआ. It's not an MCQ question. They're not asking an MCQ question. So suppose a question has 10 marks. आपने लॉजिक बता दिया, ठीक है. Suppose you told the correct logic. Okay. Or you thought of some logic and you told a logic which is the correct logic but may or may not be the most efficient logic. But you told one logic. The interview heard it, said, okay, this seems correct, but what do you think about the time complexity and space complexities? आपने time complexity और space complexity भी बता दिया. And that is correct for the logic that you said. The interviewer is impressed. The interviewer is impressed. But then he says, okay, this is correct. The logic seems correct. The time complexity and space complexity are also correct. But can you think of something? Can you improvise it a bit more? Can you make it more efficient? Can you improve on the time complexity, or can you improve on the space complexity? So then you think a little. Maybe you're not able to think, so interviewer gives you a hint कि भाई इस direction में सोचो. Suppose you think in that direction and you're able to भाई कर दिया, आपने सोच लिया. ये चलो आप नहीं भी सोच पाए, ठीक है. But since you were able to give a naive solution and were able to tell the correct time complexity and space complexity, आपको 10 में से at least you'll get 2 to 3 marks. You won't get 0. You will get 2 to 3 marks. If you were able to show that thinking as well, how did you arrive to that naive solution, you will also get 4 marks. After that, maybe the interviewer nudges you into giving a more efficient solution. If you give the more efficient solution as well, now from that 4 marks, you can easily get 6 to 7 marks out of 10. Then the interviewer asks you, what will be the time complexity of this efficient solution? You tell that also correctly. 8 mark मिल गए यहाँ पे. Last में code करने के legit बस 2 number. Hardly 2 to 3 numbers. So before reaching to that code, you can still gain a lot of marks. It may happen कि भाई time नहीं बचा, नहीं code कर पाया पूरा. Okay, you were able to code just a little, or you were not even able to start your code, but still you will have the chance to get 6 to 8 points out of 10 for every question the interviewer is asking you. Okay, ठीक है. So okay, so that is how you should answer in the interview. That is how you should answer. Okay. And one really good thing about an interview is that your code will not be tested by executing it. You wrote a code in Amazon. I wrote the code in a Google Doc, in one type of a doc. Then in Microsoft, I wrote it in a doc. In Amazon, since it was a physical interview, I wrote the code in a white piece of paper with a pen. In Google, it was a physical interview. I wrote it in a Google Doc in a laptop they gave me. And in all these interviews, in other companies as well, they never asked me to execute the code after I wrote it. They asked me to write the code. I wrote the code. They asked me to explain the code. I explained the code. They had a quick look over the code, and that's done. That is again one good thing. Okay. You don't have to worry much about the syntactical errors or syntax of the language or anything. Okay. So that is how the entire interview process goes. Okay, yes, this is what I was talking about. Always. And then yes, even if you say before writing your code, always, I've seen this so many times. People say out a logic, or people don't even say out logic. Just start writing the code. Don't start writing the code in a rush. Don't start writing the code in a hurry. You think of the logic, you say the logic to the interviewer. But he or she will tell you whether the logic is correct or not. If it's not correct, then you would have wasted your time writing the code for an incorrect logic. So Tell your logic to the interviewer. The interviewer will guide you whether it's correct or not. If it's correct, then you may ask that, can I code the solution now? Okay. So that is how you need to navigate through the interview. Yes, these, again, this is something I wanted to cover, behavioral and experience-based questions. Okay. So experience-based question usually revolves around all the work that you have done till now. They will try to drill down very, very much. Ki bhai, what all architectures have you designed? Batao any complex project that you have done. What was your part in it? What was the technical complexity in it, etc. Have properly formulated stories in your mind for it. Okay. Proper stories for it. And then if you are naming something in the story, suppose aapne bol diya ki haan bhai, I was doing some database migration from Postgres to DynamoDB. Then know properly how a Postgres SQL DB works internally, how a DynamoDB works internally. Okay. If you're throwing some jargon words in your stories, you should know in depth what those actually mean. Now you may or may not actually have worked in those technologies. That is completely that is very controversial suggestion, but yeah, at the end, everyone lies in their resume, everyone lies in their interviews. So if you want to do that, that is completely fine, but just be prepared to lie. Okay. Just have properly formulated stories, write the same thing in the resume, and learn the theory around that story. So that cross question mein ye na lage ki ye to the person was trying to cheat me. Okay. So yeah. Yeah, this is very a good suggestion. This is a very good slide. Whenever they ask you about some behavioral or experience-based questions, suppose for example in behavioral I gave you that that example questions now. That what will you do if you have a quarrel with your disagreement with your manager? What will you do if you're working with your peer on a project and you both have contradicting ideas? Or if they ask you any such question, or if they ask you to narrate a scenario, okay, around this, then you should always follow the STAR method. S in STAR stands for situation. Set the scenario, set the situation, set the context. What happened? What was happening before it? Any context that is required to understand the story properly. The second part is, what was the task? What were you responsible for? What were the people involved in that story is responsible for? What were each person responsible for? Then A stands for action. What you did and why. Why did you think doing that was the correct decision? And R means result, outcome, impact. Whether it was a successful outcome or not. If it was not a successful outcome, then what did you learn from that outcome? And that is completely fine. If you want to tell about an outcome which was not a favorable outcome, not a successful outcome, then that is completely fine. But then you need to back it up by saying, what did you learn out of it? How have you improved from that? So your answers should be structured in this manner. Pehle bolo, what was the context? What was the situation? The scenario? Then tell what were you responsible for. What did your manager assign you? What did they tell you to do? Then tell what you did and why do you think doing that? Why did you think doing that was the correct decision at that time? And then what was the outcome of that decision, outcome of that action? Was it a favorable one or not? If not, what did you learn from it? How did you correct yourself? How are you making sure that you don't repeat that same mistake? This is how using the STAR method is something you have to answer all the behavioral and the experience-based questions. Okay. Very important slide. Very, very, very important. And then trust me, in Amazon, they are asking these questions every round. As I said, every round is of 1 hour, 15 minutes for one experience-based, one behavioral, and then remaining 45 minutes for whatever extra topics. So it is that important, that important. If you mess up here, no matter how good of a knowledge, technical knowledge you have, they will not take you. This is something you have to prepare very, very properly, very properly. Okay. So yeah, nothing much. Yeah, yeah. Again, if you have to prepare for such companies, I would say 30 days is obviously a lot less. You need a few months. You need a few months. Okay. And in these few months, prepare DSA, prepare LLD, HLD, prepare proper stories for all the work you have done previously. Remember all the projects, describe how those projects are, etc. Have a buddy with yourself, have a friend with yourself. You describe your projects to him, he'll describe his projects to you. And have a conversation among you. Okay. Judge कि कैसा लगा भाई? How did your friend find how did your friend react to listening to your project? Did he get inspired? या उसको लगा कि भाई क्या ही बकवास project है ये? That is how you will get that experience of talking about your project, talking about your work. Okay. If you can't even impress your own friend about your project, then how will you impress your uh, an interviewer? No. So that is why it is very important to have a buddy or a friend with whom you'll do this exercise. Yeah, then some very basic stuff. But yeah. Yeah. So let me again take a few questions. Yeah, let me now pick people from the yeah, Ganesh, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Soumyadeep.
Hi.
Yeah. So like my experience is of 7 years. Started my career as a QA, manual test only,
Okay.
and yeah, like while working in Geo itself, I got the opportunity to work as a like Golang developer backend. Uh, I worked there and then made a switch to TCS, and like within 6 months I left TCS because I found a US based product based company, and I've been here like since like last 4 years. I've been working.
Nice.
But like for the past 5 to 6 months, like I've been using AI. So the thing is like we are not at all writing any of the code by our own.
Same.
So yeah. So basically like not like basic syntactical thing I'm able to recall, or like by using that I can practice. And also like I'm struggling a lot on logic building itself. So like how can I prove myself in like let's say like I'm not like giving as such interviews right now. I'm like preparing for DSA because to be honest, like I haven't like been focused on DSA part much. I have done my bachelor's and diploma in computer, but I haven't like focused really on that. So
So
hmm.
I guess that is true for everyone. Even right now, it's been like more than almost a year, I would say. No, not a year, but definitely in 2026, I haven't coded. Definitely, for sure. In 2026, for sure, I haven't coded. And yeah, and true that is obviously true that we are losing a little bit of a touch of that thinking by ourselves of how to formulate that logic. Uh, but I guess that is what I'm trying to keep up by doing DSA, because then I'm thinking a little at least in DSA. And in work related code, I am not writing much. I'm just I'm not writing at all. I'm just reviewing whatever code the Gen AI has written. So that is true. That is true for everyone, not just you. And uh, what is the main part of the question? I forgot. Really sorry.
Yeah, like the logic building part is what missing, and also like when I like actually put practice, let's say like by using Python or Java, then like for that also like I haven't like discovered it and like not learned the like required syntax that needs to be used in DSA solving. So yeah, I'm struggling both on. Even if I build logic, let's say, then I won't be able to like code it properly, and like yeah, that leads to disappointment, man. I'm like struggling a lot.
I completely agree. Yeah, and then as I was saying that this consists of two parts. You have to think of the logic, and then you have to code it. I would say it will come with time. Actually, I myself am trying to brush up that coding skill just with DSA, because ऐसे तो वरना तो code हो ही नहीं रहा है. So, I'm also in the same boat there, I would say. And I guess as you have just started with DSA, as you were saying that earlier, you were not that into DSA, but right now you're preparing for it. So I guess with DSA, then DSA will somewhat take care of that part. That okay, you're getting some practice of logic building, some practice of coding. So yeah, and then irrespective of Java, Python, whichever programming language you do, whichever programming language you take, I think that is not a problem right now. You can code in Python, Java, and the syntax is something you can always. I think forgetting syntax is like a huge blessing. I hated remembering syntax. So right now, if you're while coding, I would say have at least one programming language where you didn't know the syntax. Be it Python, be it Java. Just have one programming language. I also have that one as Java, so that when I'm coding DSA, I usually don't have to look up somewhere to know the syntax of Java for DSA. But apart from it, every other thing, I guess I'll also have to take a look into the syntax. So yeah, I guess keep on doing DSA, and that should take care of that, hopefully. Okay. I have a 6 automated embedded systems, primarily working as a system engineer. The FD and generative AI, nice. How realistic is it for someone to transition into these roles? See, realistic. I have seen a person who was an HR in Amazon. From HR, the person went into a support engineer in Amazon. From support engineer, the person is right now a software developer in Amazon, and then SD2 in Amazon. So I have seen weird career transitions. And obviously that person has to like kind of for example, that person is an SD2, but that person has like almost 8 years older to me. So in total he has 12 years of experience, but as a software developer support engineer he has just around 4 years of experience. So now one tiny little negative thing is that he obviously, if you see someone with 12 years of experience, they will be a senior developer or something like that. But he's an SD2. He has made that difficult career transition of coming from an HR in Amazon to a software. That is huge. Like, I haven't seen any more weird transition than that. So I think tech is the only field. We are so fortunate to be in the tech field that it doesn't care much about your past experience. It definitely makes it more difficult. That I completely agree. That yes, absolutely. If your past experience doesn't align with it, it makes it more difficult. But unlike any other field, it never shuts down the doors. That is for sure. That is for sure. You may need to make more switches from more smaller companies to slowly changing into bigger companies. You may need to work more harder than your peers. That is definitely there. But I think tech field is the only field where such huge transitions is realistic. No other, like people who have never studied, who don't even have a degree in computer science are good developers. People who were HRs are good developers. You won't see that in medical field, right? Or in any other field. So I guess definitely realistic. But yeah, your path may be a bit more difficult. Yes, Nirubi, go ahead.
Hi, Soumyadeep. Good evening. So I wanted to understand the resume shortlisting perspective a bit better. You mentioned that DSA is an important factor in cracking interviews, but the tech stack may not be the deciding factor. Our resumes mostly contain highlights about our tech stack. That was what I saw in your resume also.
Yes.
So, what is that key factor that can help us to get our ourselves shortlisted in the very first line?
I would say yes. This yes, very good point raised. That in the interviews, no one cares about your tech stack. But yeah, probably in the resume, in some job openings, if they are having a generic hiring drive, Like for example, in Amazon, I got in through a generic hiring drive. In those times, they will not even care about your tech stack in your resume as well, even if you write it. Obviously, you should write it, but yeah, they won't care. But if they're hiring for specific role based, then they will care about tech stack a little in your resume phase only. Okay, and not about tech stack. It's not about tech stack. Actually, they're not worrying about tech stack. What they're looking is similar experience. For example, if someone is looking for a DevOps role, and I go ahead and provide this resume which is full of only SD roles, then obviously they will reject me. Even if I fully write Kubernetes, Spinnaker, AWS, GCP, Azure, everything that a DevOps person works with. So that is what I would say. Even in the resume, yeah, in the resume, they may check, the ATS softwares may check your related tech stack a little, but very negligible weightage put on there as well. Most weightage is in your ATS is basically trying to see what kind of companies have you worked, what college have you gone into, what how many years of experience do you have, and then apart from these, actually these ATS softwares are trying to judge you as a how innovative you are, how responsible you are, how um, how well do you handle ownership. Have you ever seen those mind maps? Um, array, like there would be this mind map. There would be like 10 different pointers. These values, and like a spider web will be designed. Whichever if you have a higher score, that spider web will be towards the higher figure. I forgot how it is called, what it is called. But these ATS softwares kind of try to judge that only. All these parameters, how varied experience you have, how do you handle ownership, how responsible you are, etc. They try to put a score on these things, and that is why the wordings are very important. They become very important. I do find this method very stupid because it can be gamified, but yeah, that is what they do. So
Does this mean that we need to be attentive while applying for the companies as to what job are they looking for? Say a company is looking for Java developers, and we have an experience in Java in some of the companies. We need to lay emphasis on that more than
yes,
other.
yes. For different roles, you may change your resume. Don't submit the same resume for different roles. Change your resume based on the role or job you're applying to.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, Pradesh, go ahead.
Hey, hi, Soumyadeep. My question was around a similar resume building sort of. So I have around 10 years of experience, and at this juncture, I was thinking that whatever personal projects that I'm working on or I've built recently, would that be beneficial to mention those in the resume?
If they are live and they're serving people, yes. If they're learning or just learning purposes or just for like Sunday को बोर हो रहा था एक बना दिया कुछ बढ़िया सा, if that was the thing, then no. But suppose, for example, if you like, say your dad has a business and you build something which right now your dad and maybe even if 5 or 10 of his colleagues are using, then yes, put it. So, Vasa, if you can put up a story or something, or like if you
I
go,
had an,
yeah,
I had an idea, and I
yeah,
have kind of started working on that.
yeah,
So I'm currently working on AI-powered voice assistant.
nice, okay.
So
Yeah, if you're
how
pursuing it like a product, like a startup or something like that, yeah, definitely put it, definitely.
that'll be nice, right? Because
Yeah,
what
for
I
sure.
am thinking was a full-fledged product,
For sure.
meaning
Yes.
it'll be running on a Mac machine 24/7, looking for a wake word. Then whenever
Yeah,
that
if
word
you
is,
can deploy it, if you can provide the link, for sure.
yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, go ahead, Balakrishna.
Yeah, hi. So currently I have like 7+ years of experience
Okay.
in the Node.js backend side. So
Okay,
only
nice.
from the start of my like journey, so I do code for the Node.js, that is molecular JS, Express JS, only those. And I know most of the concept like RabbitMQ, Docker, Kubernetes, and queuing systems, Kafka, and REST APIs, GraphQL. So most of the concepts I know, and I have worked on that one as well. So currently for the last 5 years working on the same company. So like much like 7+ years now. So I currently in the code Cardos, I have choose the DSA plus system design. So
Okay. Since yeah, sorry, yeah, go ahead, yeah.
so like I want to make a transition from this service-based company to product-based company. So like what is the most suitable career package in this code Cardos, or like how I can transition from like service-based company to the product-based company at this 7+ years of career stage.
Sure. See, since you are already here in Code Cardo, so I would suggest you, and again, since this is a little personal question, I would suggest you feel free to reach out to Shubham sir and schedule a counseling session with me or anyone else, and we'll be able to guide you better on a one-on-one session.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Ask Shubham sir. He'll schedule a 30-minute or a 1-hour session, and then we can go through it and map out the entire journey properly. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll take just 1-2 questions more. Let's say someone has less than 5 years or 3 years or maybe 3 years of experience. There will be very less chance that she have handled the team. So what kind of question will there be in terms of team handling? I'm not asking exact questions. Yeah, maybe not handle the team, but maybe handle the project. That okay, you're working in a project. 2 people are working in the project. You have 3 years of experience, so you're an SD2. Another person who's working in the project is an SD1 with 1 or 2 years of experience. So kind of you were the leader in that project, something like that. Or maybe you have 2 to 3 years of experience, and there is a new join in the team. Your manager assigned you as their buddy, so you were kind of helping them for 6 months or training them for 6 months, something like that. So yeah, you can share those stories as well in a similar leadership type of a question. Okay. Or many of the times you can also say that if you have less than 3 years of experience, less than 2 to 3 years of experience, you can very easily say that I have a college-based experience. Even right now, also I mentioned in one of the question that I have a college-related example story. So can I share that? And they were completely fine with it. So you can also share about some group projects you did in college where you were the leader, or maybe some hackathons you took part in where you were the team lead, or anything like that. Okay. So it's not just for work. They're trying to judge you as a person. So you can also share college experiences as well, but obviously not before college, not of high school or middle school. But yeah, college definitely works if you have 3 to 4 years of experience. Okay. Yeah, I'll take this as the last question. I've graduated in 2025. I got placed in campus placement, but eventually, a company revoked my offer letter in November 2025. Then I have started searching job and got that in March 2026. Now thinking to switch due to some problem. The resume has gaps, so does not create problem. See, a gap may or may not create problems depending on how much gap it is. Okay. I would suggest you to reach out to Shubham sir for this. He'll be able to help you properly, very properly. We can sort this out very easily. Don't worry about that. But yeah, see, in a gap, again, if you portray a gap in an interview, it depends how you're able to sell that with a reason. Suppose the gap was
in interview I can handle, but like during resume passing at the time I'm talking, like in an interview,
how many months of gap is that?
Like generally graduated in 2025, so it's around August I have graduated, May to August, and now I have in March 2026 I have joined.
Okay. Oh, so now you have already joined one.
Yeah, I am doing from 5 months, and I'm thinking to switch right now.
Oh yeah. So then since you've already joined one, it shouldn't matter much. That is fine. That is fine.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, I would say that was the last question. Uh, uh, that was the last question I would take. And yeah, if any of you have any other queries or anything, or if you want to learn DSA at Code Kurdos or anything, if you want any personal help regarding some career or how you want to charter your path, feel free to reach out to Shubham sir. And yeah, that's it for today's session, guys. I hope it was a little helpful at least. And okay then, bye everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.